In order to save programmers from the wrath of Microsoft, I'm going to make a shitty open source GitHub Copilot alternative which, instead of generating code using GPT-3, will scrape functions from Stack Overflow. I'll extract the functions with their name, parameters, and body and store it in a database, then set up an express server using Node.js to query the functions. I'll then create a VS Code extension similar to Copilot's, which will allow users to insert the functions into their code. I call it Clone Pilot, since it's a clone of GitHub Copilot and it clones functions from Stack. You get it. Seems pretty simple. Here's how it went. Originally, I was prepared to let my computer run for a couple of days as Puppeteer slowly scraped posts from Stack Overflow. Fortunately, I found data.stackexchange.com, which allows you to query the entire Stack Overflow database. I set up a query to find answers to questions with a certain number of views, ensuring that the functions extracted were common enough to be useful. I can then download the CSV with the post ID, post score, and the body text of the answer. To extract the functions from a post, we first have to parse the HTML of the body. Using this function, we select all of the lang.js elements which contain code tags. Finally, we parse the code tags to get the text, which is the raw JavaScript. To extract the functions from a JavaScript snippet, we parse it and then walk the abstract syntax tree to find all of the function declaration and variable declarator nodes. I also found the method nodes, although those are less useful. I stored the functions into a MySQL database and created an express server which takes request for a function name and responds with the functions that have a matching prefix. For example, if you search for remove, you would get a function called remove, remove from array, and remove duplicates. It also sorts the function from shortest name to longest name. This will help find more relevant matches to what the user is searching. Next, I had to make the VS Code extension. I tried to copy Copilot's interface as much as I could, but it seems that the inline completion they used is under the proposed API and is not allowed to be published to the marketplace yet. I'm not sure how Copilot is able to use it, but I guess since Microsoft owns everything, they just gave themselves early access. I went for the next best thing and recreated the Copilot window, which shows multiple suggestions that a user can select. I first created a command that opens a split pane and gets the word under the cursor. I then queried the database to get the list of relevant functions and formatted and displayed them. Finally, to allow the user to easily import the function into their code, I added a code lens, which is a clickable text above the function name that inserts the function into the original file. With the extension finished, I created an Azure DevOps organization and published my extension. You can search for it or there will be a link in the description. And with that, it's complete. Overall, it works pretty well. At least my code does. The extension itself is not really that useful. While GitHub has access to the most powerful neural network of our time, I have a couple of thousand Stack Overflow functions. The most common problem is that the functions are for an extremely specific use case, and since Clone Pilot doesn't look for context in the code, it can't tell which functions are relevant. There are some useful functions though. For example, validating URLs, converting RGB to HSL, lerping, and checking if a browser is iOS or Internet Explorer. Another interesting result occurred when I searched for the inverse square root algorithm. Many people have shown that GitHub Copilot copies this function exactly, and that's actually what inspired me to make Clone Pilot. When I searched for the inverse square root algorithm, Clone Pilot didn't have it, but it did have this other interesting function. I looked into it and it comes from this post and is an extremely optimized binary search algorithm which unrolls loops and uses pre-computed values. Unfortunately, that makes it completely unreadable. The formatting of the switch statement also gets messed up since there are no breaks after each case, resulting in my auto-formatter over-indenting. So the final question is, will I actually use it? No, I use Vim.